hearts love, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Excellent, Allison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We always love it when folks volunteer. It's kind of our thing. All right, so we're going to continue to go on with a couple welcomes before we get the show on the road. The first one I'd like to welcome is Rob Dixon. Rob is the director of the Missouri Department of Economic Development, which is the agency that Missouri Community Service Commission and AmeriCorps sit in. Rob previously served as the president and CEO of Missouri Community College Association. His overall responsibilities include leadership and management of staff and programs in economic and workforce development, public affairs, local government policy, communications, community development, and strategic planning. Rob joined the U.S. Marine Corps after high school, where he served as an intelligence analyst in Afghanistan and Pakistan immediately after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. He was recognized for leadership and performance and received an honorable discharge as a sergeant after 5 years in the Marine Corps. Rob has been a friend and an advocate for our program for many years, and we are so honored for him to join us and welcome us.
Thank you, Scott. Can you hear me? All right. Well, good morning. Hello. Welcome, and so excited to be able to be a part of this here with you today. As Scott mentioned, I lead the Missouri Department of Economic Development, and I serve in the governor's cabinet. And our mission at the Department of Economic Development is to help Missourians prosper. And I can tell you that we're so proud to have the Missouri Community Service Commission and AmeriCorps as part of DED, because that's what you do every single day. You help our citizens prosper. And when I think about public service, I think about people who get up every day, who their sole purpose is to help our fellow citizens. And what immediately comes to mind is the work that you do within the AmeriCorps program and with the Missouri Community Service Commission. I think you guys are the epitome of public servants. I think that you are the epitome of what public service is. And I can tell you that the governor, the entire cabinet, his whole administration, and certainly me personally, appreciate everything that you guys do every single day. You've seen our citizens at their best, and you've seen us at our worst. And through it all, you guys have been right there alongside Missourians and citizens across the country, in fact, to help make somebody's life better or to help make somebody's community better. And that's a pretty awesome responsibility, and it's pretty awesome work that you guys do. You've helped underprivileged kids get better education. You've helped when natural disasters have hit our state. You've helped save lives during the pandemic. And that's just scratching the surface of the million things that you guys do as AmeriCorps members every single day. And what really strikes me about it is that you do it all without really the desire for credit or for attention. You just do it. You just do it to serve and to help people. And we are so proud of the work that you all do. And as a citizen of the state, I personally thank you for that. We're so glad that you're able to join Scott and the NCSC team for these sessions. And it sounds like you guys have a great lineup ahead of you. And I hope that you take the fullest advantage of your time together and the networks and the relationships that you have. Well, this is an interesting week for me personally, and some of you may know this, but this is actually my last couple of days in this job. I'm going to be moving on to the private sector starting next week. But the governor has already named Maggie Coast as the acting director of DED. So she's going to be taking my position, and she's going to be serving in the governor's cabinet. And I want you guys to know that Maggie, the new director of the Department of Economic Development, is an AmeriCorps alumni. She knows your mission. She knows the work that you guys do, and she supports it because she sat in your very seats and she's done those very same things that you guys do. And it's going to be an awesome time to be a part of AmeriCorps going forward in our state. Thank you for the opportunity to help kick off this session today. And more importantly, I thank you guys for everything you do. Scott, back to you. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure to visit with you this morning.
Thank you, Director, and thank you to the agency for continuing to support our mission as we grow this program across the state. So we're excited to keep going. Next, I'd like to introduce our commission chair, John Albright. After 34 years of management and leadership responsibility in the field of management development, John retired from Pfizer World Headquarters in New York City. And prior to that, and concurrently with that, he served in the U.S. Navy and Naval Reserves, retiring as a captain after 28 years of service. On the national level, John serves on the board of directors for the American Service Commissions. In 2015, he founded and chaired the first Missouri National Service Coalition. And this coalition, with the mayors of Kansas City and St. Louis as co-chairs, advocated for federal appropriation funding for the expansion of AmeriCorps. In 2016, he was selected and recognized by Voices for National Service as National Service Advocate of the Year. He graduated from Marquette University with a BS in mathematics and has completed numerous postgraduate studies in performance management, coaching, management, leadership development, and business. I can say after working on the national service scene for a long time, there is no more tireless advocate for AmeriCorps and national service than John. And we are very lucky to have his leadership. So John, take it away, sir.
Thank you, Scott. Can you hear me? Okay, good. And thank you, Rob, for your great welcoming remarks and for being here to help open up this historic event. Reverend Dr. Gee, other distinguished speakers, Sonali, our AmeriCorps State and National Director. I'm not sure if Christina Carver's here, our Business and Community Solutions Acting Director. AmeriCorps program directors and especially AmeriCorps members ready to be sworn in today. I welcome you all to this first time annual celebration of service and swearing in event today. I love AmeriCorps. I love national service. I believe national service can help us rebuild our civic bridges. I believe that AmeriCorps offers each of you representing Missouri's promising youth a civic apprenticeship that prepares you for the workforce, and it also will enhance your civic health as young Missourians, as well as preparing you for active civic citizenship. It will bring, not only will it enhance your civic health, but it also enhances the engagement health of our participating seniors like myself. And it will, I think it will also, AmeriCorps will help bring Missouri to fulfilling its full potential. I'd like to share just a short story with you, and that happened about 7 years ago when the past commission chair, Russ Unger, and myself went to DC for a AmeriCorps State and National Symposium. And we selected a breakout session, and in that session, the speaker there was James A. Joseph. Now, he was a former U.S. ambassador to South Africa. And during his service there, he received the highest honor that country could bestow upon a person from another country, and that was the Order of Good Hope. During his, however, he didn't talk about anything about his service there in South Africa. He talked to us about AmeriCorps members and how he became aware of their significant impact in Louisiana when he was a chairman of the board of directors for the Louisiana Board of Louisiana Disaster Recovery Foundation. He was greatly impressed with the AmeriCorps Disaster Response and Recovery Service, addressing these critical needs in all of these impacted Louisiana communities. He provided several personally touching examples from his observations. And then he added that these AmeriCorps members, besides providing this tangible, needed service, were also offering hope to to these people, young and old. And he went on to say that the gift of hope is as big a gift as the gift of life itself. So I want to close with you by just sharing the U.S. Navy motto, Semper Fortis, and that translates to always courageous. And I ask you to be courageous in your service years, during which you're helping meet the local needs of our underserved, our vulnerable, and or disaster-stricken citizens, and improving their lives as you're working with them and serving them. And importantly, understand that through your focused energy, your action, your perseverance to get things done, you'll be conveying an important sense of hope and encouragement to our fellow Missourians. So thank you for being here, and welcome to our first ever AmeriCorps opening day, Semper Fortis. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, sir. So why exactly are we here today? As John just mentioned, this is our first annual opening day. And the whole idea here is to get all of you together at the beginning of your service, to rededicate ourselves, all of us, to a year of service, but also to kind of share ideas of how we can make this year more impactful for ourselves as well as the communities we serve. And then also start planning for the future. What comes after this term of service? So today we're going to be hearing from our keynote speaker, who is going to talk to us about how we can be more impactful for both ourselves and those that we're serving. And then we're going to hear from a person who actually served in a different capacity through Peace Corps. Throughout the day, I ask that you continue to add your stories about why you joined AmeriCorps and your experiences in the chat. If you got any questions for us, you can put it in the chat as well too. And also, we'll just continue to kind of roll through the day and gather what we can about your experiences and have a good conversation. The hope is that the second annual opening day will be in person, so we can all see each other and be in the same space with each other. But we're working towards that gradually. And so this year, we'll do it this way. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce us to our keynote speaker for the day. Dr. Alexander G. is the lead pastor of Foundation of Life Church, president and founder of the NEMA Center for Urban Leadership Development and its renowned initiative, Justified Anger. G is considered a serial social entrepreneur, having started 5 successful companies and initiatives, and currently directs nearly 40 employees. For almost 30 years, he has established himself as a thought leader in leadership development and cross-cultural relationships, both nationally and internationally. Locally, through his vision, the programs of NEMA have focused on youth empowerment and leadership development, family and community wellness, economic development, and reentry services for former incarcerated individuals. He studied at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Fuller Seminary, and Bakke Graduate University, where he earned his doctorate. He's the author of 2 books and host of the award-winning podcast, Black Like Me. He is also a very good friend to AmeriCorps. I've seen the doctor speak to several groups of members, and I think you're in for a treat. And then also, he's going to present it first, and then there will be time for Q&A with him at the end. So please put your questions in the chat box, and we'll moderate that a little later on. So, Dr. G, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland. It's great to be here today. And I'd like to say welcome to everyone. Congratulations. I didn't realize that this was the first annual opening day, but I want to say congratulations to you on your decision to do this great work. Scott, may I have permission to share my screen?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We're working on it. We have like 3 different machines here. I just got to get the right one.
No problem. I'll just say to the members, I just want to say, well, I'll just wait till we get this set up. Just a special thank you to Mr. Albright for your comments, and also to Cabinet Member Dixon, to Scott McFarland and your team. Thank you all so much. Okay, great. I have the space.
You should be good.
I am. Thank you. I have an affinity for Missouri because my mother was born in Pemiscot, County in Hayti, Missouri. My grandmother referred to it as Missouri. So, so I feel that I have roots there. Let me just jump right into my presentation. Again, I just want to congratulate you on your work. Just a moment. Just want to tell you a little bit about my work, just to contextualize our speech today. I run a nonprofit that's called the Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. It's 29 years old, going on its 30th year. Our tagline is that we're changing the face of leadership, that in a community like Madison, our focus is to really strengthen the entire community, but our work focuses on the African-American community because of the disparities that exist. I mention that because you can extrapolate from my talk things that will impact the communities that you serve.
I was also wondering about that. Yeah.
I'm working on.
Oh, no, no problem, no problem. We also have an initiative that's called Justified Anger, where we look at dismantling systemic racism by partnering with non-African American allies to find out what we can do together to make this community stronger and better for everyone. And so that work allows us to gather folks, to convene people, to build solutions. This is from a gathering that I held a few years ago, explained to the community what some of the insights were that I'd gained from listening to our community. There's also a renowned US Black History course that we teach using the University of Wisconsin Madison faculty in order to bring non-Black allies into an understanding of how US history has impacted the African American community. Our work is to inspire a movement of change by changing systems and transforming communities. My mother and sister are both social workers. And so although I have an appreciation for traditional social services, they tend to be about treatment and not necessarily about empowerment or systemic change. And what I realized is that if the work of Nehemiah only has a human service component, but not a systemic changing component, we don't really lead to the transformation of communities. So our theory of community transformation is that we start grassroots with individuals like yourselves, believing that they have the ability to make changes. And then the mobilization of those individuals together, which is what we call partnership capital, but then also systems and organizational capital. And organizational capital is when individuals begin to work together and realize you work for this county, you work for this business, you work for this governmental agency, you work for this faith community, you work for this nonprofit. What if we brought our organizations together to help to bring about a change in our community? And we believe that systems change is what's needed. Organizational capital, the strength of organizations working together is really what's needed. And the last thing that we're working on, that my team is working on, is a Center for Black Excellence in Culture. It's the first of its kind in our state, and it's going to be a 60,000 square foot hub that will be a home for the celebration of Black culture. That's African, Caribbean, North American, and Afro-Latino. But performance-based, theater space, spaces for film festivals, spaces for an innovation center, spaces for community organizations, spaces for gathering to work with our allies to create anti-racism solutions. But what we found is that in our community, there's no cultural hub that celebrates the impact that my community has made on American culture in the world for that case. And there's a reason for all of these things that I'm showing, that I have been able to build this work and lead these organizations with people who are often overlooked. In my work as a social service organization executive, as a nonprofit executive, what I have ascertained over 30, 35 years is a sense of hopelessness. When people ask, what is the root issue? Is it hunger? Is it underemployment? It's really a sense of hopelessness. And hopelessness grows out of a belief that things won't ever change. They won't change for you personally, institutionally, or societally. And this is why we need agents of change out in our communities. And that's where you come in, friends. This is where you come in. We want you to be agents of change. We want your own experiences to inform your work. We want the energy that you have to empower your work. And we want everyday folks who care about everyday folks like you to understand that your role is not to maintain the status quo, but to be a part of the solution that makes the community stronger and healthier and that helps it really work together. There's a uniqueness of the complexity of your work. The work of service, of community service, has always been complex. That's not new. But the uniqueness of the complexity is that we live in such a tumultuous times where there's so much racial polarization, political polarization, upheaval, divide, crime, us against them, them against us. And it adds to the complexity. So it means we're so polarized and we're walking on eggshells. And again, as I mentioned, this work is always difficult. But when we serve in this community where everything is looked through a lens of poverty or race or gender or orientation, it continues to separate us and it makes it hard for us to talk and work together. And even when one group has solutions, it looks like it's not a solution to others. This is a statue that was pulled down in the city of Madison, where I live, Madison, Wisconsin. And regardless of what our feelings are, what my feelings are about demonstrations, to a group of people, this was very appropriate. To another group of people, this was an affront to democracy, an affront to our heroes, an affront to our capital property. But it shows the extent to which we are having a difficult time working towards solutions. Because you have one group of folks who say, but some of these statues represent history. They represent horrible history. It represents Jim Crow and the KKK and oppression. And others say it promotes promise. And so even as we look at what might seem like viable solutions to some of us, is really not a strong option or option to others. And so I want us to realize that the complexities are so unique because we're so torn. So you must be wise as you enter into this work in understanding that even good things you do and good things you say can be misunderstood, but you don't stop being that agent of change. The complexities of today's society impacts those who you serve, but it also impacts those of you who serve. As you go out to serve, please realize you're not an island, that as you're giving of yourselves, the issues touch you personally and deeply. This means that you have to be objective, but you have to also take care of yourself. But you have to be aware that these things are real, and you're not serving because you are above these issues. It might be your involvement in these issues is what really qualifies you to be a true agent of change. I was part of a demonstration in my city, Madison. This is downtown again, around the Capitol. And my communications director took this picture, but as I looked at it, I peered into my own eyes and I said, man, I'm tired. I'm weary. I'm down here and I'm a part of a peaceful protest, but I've been Zoom hacked. I've had somebody call me the N-word 250 times in my own training session and said that me and people who look like me need to die. The FBI had to get involved. They had to move into the case to make sure that the local police department was handling it correctly. All I was trying to do is bring people together. And then I wind up talking to the FBI and thinking about, getting security on my home and all of these things by just wanting to bring people together. The uniqueness of our complexities, of the context, is that we're tired. Our parents are tired. Our spouses, our partners are tired. Our children are tired. Our friends are tired. Our colleagues are tired. This is a very weary time. You enter into service at such a pivotal, but such a volatile moment in our nation's history. And you need to know that in order to protect yourself, in order to fully give yourselves to those that you're serving. But it is why I even congratulate you even more, because to some extent you are aware of this. And perhaps these kinds of issues that have wearied me and others are what has called you to the forefront to say, why not me? And why not now? And why not here? And why not in this manner? And I want you to know that real change that has happened in our nation, real change that's happened around the world, has not always happened from government or business or recognizable community leaders, but from folks like you who care about your neighbors like you care about yourselves, who care about the hunger or the learning difficulties or differences or challenges or the housing challenges or the food challenges of folks in our community. It is everyday people who care about everyday people that continues to make this world tolerable. And yeah, people tear it apart, but it's people who put it back together again. It's caring people, conscientious people who put it back again. And I'm trusting that you are those folks, that you are those kinds of folks who are looking for opportunities and seeing them as the great chance that they are to bring folks together. But again, the complexity is that everyone's feeling the weight of what's happening in our world, those you serve, but you as well. This is a plug right now, which is hard to say on your opening day. Self-care is important. And I hope that your supervisors and your managers will help you process that. But knowing how to disconnect when you need to, knowing how to rest when you need to, knowing how to yell, in the appropriate places when you need to, and how to find people who refresh you. That's so important. The reason why taking care of you is important is because you factor into the complexities of your work more than you realize it. In 35 years of management, I have found that many times the issues that people have in the work are personal. That either it strikes a chord, it's triggering, it's dealing with something that the individual who is leading and serving has not duly wrestled with. And so you must factor you into this situation. And I want to start by asking this question. How do you see your service and why? Now, this is where the you is coming in. How do you see your service and why? Who's on your caseload? Now, it's not all called caseload. Now, again, I'm related to social workers, so I may use this terminology. But the question is, are you trained or will you be trained to see signs of success or just issues? What I have found in traditional human services and social services, that the training is to really remediate, to help people get from point A to point B. But at some point we have to understand, how did people lose their way? Or were they ditched? Were they taken somewhere and left there? Everyone who is lost, and I don't mean a lost cause, but who's lost, misdirected, is not necessarily there because they wandered off. Some were lured off, and some were sent off, and some were taken off. And so I want to ask you to think about this. And some of this is preparatory because you're just starting your work. But I want you to think about this question when you're into your work. Who's on your caseload? This picture is three women who are very dear to me. The older woman with the silverish hair is my mother. Single mom. She left my father. It was a physically abusive marriage. She was a high school dropout, only went through part of her freshman year. Long and short of it is she moved to Madison, Wisconsin because they had a program for adult returning students and got her undergraduate degree and her graduate degree. She graduated with honors with her master's in social work. And so until she retired, my mom served as a family therapist, working with folks she could relate to, not only, but particularly Black women who dropped out of high school, who were in abusive relationships, who were intelligent, but hadn't owned it and hadn't fully leaned into it. She was able to work in places where she could bring her strength and not just find the weaknesses of people, but to find their strengths. And so the lady that's standing up with her in the red jacket struggled with severe learning differences, severe depression. But she credits my mom for helping to get her out of her house and out of her bed and open her drapes, to just walk in her home and open her drapes. Again, my mom worked for a really non-traditional social service organization that allowed her to bring all of herself to work. And she pulled the drapes back and said, nope, you're getting up out of this bed. And this woman told me that sometimes, I'll just call her Miss D, her first name begins with the letter D. She said, sometimes this counselor would just drive me around while she paid bills or while she went to get gas, just to get me out of the house into a rhythm of normalcy, because I was so accustomed to just being on my bed and being in darkness. She ended up going into a college preparatory program where she graduated with all A's, was admitted into a key university where she was recognized as a scholar. And because of her learning disabilities and difficulties and differences, she could hardly write. And she became a prolific writer and a sought after scholar. But my mother and others like her were trained to see signs of success and not just the issues. The woman sitting next to my mother was a teen mom. That's not necessarily problematic. But when we were hiring for parasocial work positions in our community, helping families who were being impacted by our work to welfare program, the community social worker would not interview her. The community social worker said, she was on my caseload as a teen mother. I don't think she has what it takes to be in this position. It will be beneath me and us to interview her, so I'm recusing myself, and I'm not going to interview her. At the time, this woman was struggling. She was not only using, but had dealt drugs, but she was ready for a change in her life. The social worker, my mother, made a decision to hire her anyway. This lady was such a standout that she ended up getting her associate's degree, left and went to Marquette University to get her bachelor's degree, and is just finishing up her master's degree in a shopping doctoral program. She's a prolific grant writer and community organizer. But before she left working in this organization with my mother to go to school, the social worker who refused to hire her had become her mentor. Because of the work of Miss T, I'll call her, was so tremendous that when the social worker who refused to hire her died of brain cancer, the county did not replace that office with a supervisor from their own human service department. They hired Miss T, the single mom, the drug dealer, the drug user. They hired her because she was more familiar with that office, its programs, its staff, than any of their degreed social workers. When you begin to see your caseload or whatever it's called, it may be children, it may not be adults, you've got to be trained to see signs of success, not just the issues. And some of you don't need any training in this. You see success, and you have to be willing to help call that out and bring that out. This picture of three individuals are a few of my, let's see if I can go back on that. Well, I lost that picture. Hold on just a moment. I'm sorry about this. My slides are having a mind of their own. But I will say this, those three folks, Scott, I'm sorry for doing this. I'm going to see if I can stop this and go back to that point in the slide, because I want to really tell that story.
We all love technology.
When it works. I love these three individuals. Two of them I met when they, you know what I'm going to do? Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to leave this here so you see my side slides. So just tell me, Scott, can you all still see my slide? I know you see the deck in the middle. Please excuse me that that's working. Technology is not my friend today.
Yeah, it's still big enough to see. You're fine.
Great. I met Miss J when she was on an ankle bracelet, just released from prison. Mr. A in the middle, he is still on an ankle bracelet. And even though he's no longer on paper and has served, he's been in the criminal justice system since he was a teenager. Mr. A in the right end, met him when he was a drug dealer in our community, sold drugs but never used them. These individuals, I'm not going to tell you the story of how my program helped them succeed. I'm going to tell you how they helped my program succeed. When I hired Miss Jackie, and her story is out there, she's written a book about it, and so I'll use her first name. I won't use the first name to others. All of her children are in foster care, but she had a better life in mind. I gave her first full-time job. She completely restructured how we did outside services. She created support groups for single moms. She created feeding programs, Black Santa programs. She would take women in our community to plays in Chicago and help them to get out of our city and get dressed up and go have fun. She completely reshaped what we do. Well, Dane County Human Services hired her to work as a mental health specialist. She got her associates and her bachelor's and her master's degree. She's come back and works with me now. but she is a therapist and can counsel people and build their insurance companies directly. When I met her, she had no custody of any of her children. Now she helps moms get custody of their children. She has been recognized by with some of the most prestigious awards in our community because she has learned to tell her story, to bring all of her into the complexity of this work, and to help people know their value. Mr. A in the middle, same thing. He was part of a support group that I created while in grad school called Man Up, helping men who are returning back to the community from prison. He is now on my staff and he runs that program. He is the facilitator of that program, and he does a better job of facilitating than I do. I have degrees. He has the lived experience and the credibility, the consistency, and the trust of the community. Mr. A on the end is my senior vice president of reentry. The governor has appointed him to sit on the board that supervises the state public defender. Not only that, he was recently cleared of all of his past. He was pardoned. I'm sorry, my mind went blank on the word. He was recently pardoned by Governor Tony Evers for all of his records. This means he can now get funding for grad school. It means he can consider public office. But these are folks who I met when they were in deep trouble. They now define my organization. Anthony was just named the nonprofit community service executive of the year, the gentleman on the right, executive of the year. I've run this organization for 30 years. I've never been recognized by that organization, but my staff member who does tremendous work to stop crime, retaliatory crime when there have been shootings and violence in our communities. These are folks who shaped our reentry program. They told me how to do it, how not to do it, how to interact with folks, how to respect folks. And they showed me that we could be leaders in reentry by putting folks who have been incarcerated at the head of leadership inside our organization regarding these programs. That is exactly what we did. And it's why we have one of the most successful programs in our community, because people who have been incarcerated run them. Program staff, I want to ask you a question because today is not just about the members. AmeriCorps members are worth the investment and the sacrifice. Are you ready to see them and perhaps see the work differently? You know, when I first started interacting with the gentleman in the middle, I'm a kid of the 70s, I'm 57. I said, oh, I know. When I was growing up, PBS used to have this program called Scared Straight. And if we take the folks coming out of prison through the scared process so that we could just scare the crap out of them so that they won't do wrong, he just said, Dr. G, Dr. G, Dr. These men have had enough fear in their life. They've been scared enough. They need to be shown respect and love. I thought my idea was good. It worked for PBS. It worked for television ratings. This man corrected me. The amount of men that he has helped to keep out of prison because of what he suggested. The gentleman on the right said, we need a housing component. Housing, how are we going to afford housing? He said, we're going to have to figure out a way to do it because we can't just bring people and sit them in a circle and tell them to tell us about their problems and then go and live on the streets or sofa surf. We now own 4 buildings. And this team of gentlemen have placed 1,000 men in jobs who have come out of prison. And we have housed scores of men in our units. I didn't transform them. They transformed me. Program staff, will you invest in the members? Will you listen to the members? Will you see them, not just for the newness of their tenure, or maybe the shortness of their tenure, but for what they bring, because they had a life before AmeriCorps. They had a life before your program. And they might know a little bit of something about what they're doing. Are you ready to see them and perhaps the work differently? These folks caused our organization to pivot because they knew from a very personal level what this involved. A uniqueness of your work is that it must be informed by history, current events, and personal connectedness. So I want to say to everyone, take time to understand your context. If you're working with rural, impoverished families of Missouri, understand how that happens. People don't just wake up impoverished. There are systems. There are deals that were broken. There were factories and businesses that went away or went overseas. Don't just show up in a community and just think that by being nice or by being helpful hands or being some type of savior figure, that it'll be fine. Understand the context. So here's a few suggestions for members' journey on this in this work. Understand historical issues and context of those you're serving. It's important. If individuals who are non-Black want to volunteer in my organization to help what they may think of as at-risk African-American youth, they've got to go through our 9-week US Black History course. Because if they don't understand the systems that were put in place to cause the divisions that we have, they cannot be a part of the solution, and they will be harmful. Know the context. If you're working with the Latinx community, understand what happened in that cultural context, or whatever the population may be. I'm just speaking from my own experience. But understand the history, the historical context in which you're serving. What has impacted that community? What can they tell you about that community? What deals have been broken? What trust has been broken? That's very important, members. Connect yourselves to the communities you're serving within reason, because you do need good boundaries between work and your personal life. But don't just show up and do a service and leave. The community did not sign up to have people just sort of fly in and give them sandwiches and backpacks and back to school materials and then leave. Show that having lunch, having a discussion, having a meal is not beneath you. Find ways to get connected. If there's a major community program, a block club, a real big celebration, participate in it. Show up, and not as someone who has a job or a task badge around their necks. Just show up as someone who loves the community. If you can't find something within the community that you're serving to love, then you shouldn't be serving there. If you cannot find things and places and people to love where you serve, you are in the wrong line of work. The third point is becoming a true agent of change. Become a true agent of change. Speak truth respectfully. We don't want you to lose your jobs, to power. This is where I push traditional human services. And in my work with AmeriCorps in Wisconsin, I push this as well. In your mission, you allude to helping and serving others. Sometimes the service isn't a handout. Sometimes it's the system or a system that is broken. Maybe it's a penal system. Maybe it's a criminal justice system. Maybe it's a court system. But if our work is to really enhance the quality of life, and that's part of your work, then sometimes you have to be, again, to speak truth to power, which means in my line of work, I don't just sit around Black men with ankle bracelets on and tell them, you better not recidivize. You better be good. You better go see your agent and do what they say and do the UA. Part of my work means sitting down with the Department of Corrections, the Secretary of Corrections, and saying, here's what we're noticing. We're noticing that inside your department, where only a high school graduation is required to become a guard or a warden, in a prison system that's almost 50% Black, you have less than 3% Black employees. You can't find any Black people in the state of Wisconsin with a high school diploma. We have to speak truth to power. Otherwise, we are blaming the victims. And so I'm sorry that I don't have much more time to elaborate on that. Your program staff can help you with that. But true agents of change don't have the best giveaway programs. They listen to people to find out what holds you back, what keeps you down. I want you all to be able to speak the truth powerfully to those in power. And to program staff on your journey in this work, I want to make the following suggestions. Prepare staff well for the reality of their work, because it is hard and people are disgruntled and they don't want to be objectified. Everyone's not just happy because someone's showing up to help them. But be an example. Do you know the people you serve, program staff, supervisors? Do you have relationships that are different than your own? Have you reached beyond the bounds of your desk, your office, your group, the four walls of your station? Have you done that? Because if you don't, how do you help your members to do that? Empower staff by listening and learning. Again, My staff taught me how to do reentry, taught me how to buy properties, taught me how to establish credibility within that community. But I had to listen, not just listen to tolerate, but listen to learn and validate the pain and the disappointment of your staff, because people will give their absolute best and it won't be enough. People will have the right services and feel that someone doesn't appreciate them because either the color of their skin or some other indicators, and they will need a place to come and have that pain validated. Because sometimes that will be true. People will see folks differently and treat them differently. But I hope that you create space so that members can bring their pain. I believe that the state of Missouri is in good hands. I want to congratulate you again for making this choice, this commitment. I'm so proud every time I'm connected with an AmeriCorps event at the people who care about more than what they sip, what they wear, what they drive, and care about the community around them. And the last thing I just want to say is, if you want to find out more about things I think or say, I have a podcast. It's called Black Like Me. It's a free podcast. You can find it on any of your platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, alexg.com, where I talk about things that impact the life, specifically from my perspective, the life of African Americans and what it's like predominantly, what's it like navigating predominantly white spaces like we do in the state of Wisconsin. I'm going to pause there and turn things back over to Scott so that we can have time for a few more questions. Thank you all so much for allowing me to be here with you today.
Thanks. We have about 15, 20 minutes here for folks who have any questions, feedback, just want to chat. So if you want to do that, you can do one of two things. You can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question, or put it in the chat box. Somebody's got to be the first one.
I just want to say thank you. You're awesome. You're amazing. And you are definitely an inspiration from someone who is navigating in this space as well. And I'm fairly new. This is a career change, but what I've noticed all my life, I've really have served the people and a certain population. And so I'm just so overwhelmed. I didn't expect this. And my heart is just, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just overwhelmed. So just thank you for your service.
That means so much to me. Am I pronouncing right? Kabuya?
Yes, sir. Latrice Kabuya. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm proud of you and this team and the work that you're doing, and keep doing it. We need you. And this work will enhance your quality of life as well. Yes. If you don't get as much as you give, we're doing something wrong. I do this because I get so much back. So thank you for those kind words.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. G, the first question we got in the chat too is from Marcy, and she's asking, do you do work in Milwaukee as well as Madison?
Yes and no, but I will say most of our work is focused in Dane County. Although Madison and Milwaukee are only 70 miles apart, it seems like it could be separate states. And I'm sure that there are places like that in Missouri. I'm sure it's like St. Louis or maybe Kansas City or something like that. They may be close, but they're just so different. But Milwaukee has strong services, a greater degree of diversity and diverse folks working in key positions. And so although you hear a lot about Milwaukee's crime and things like that, because there's a larger city, the disparities between Blacks and whites and Black and brown folks and white folks in Madison and Dane County is just incredibly different than it is in Milwaukee. We set the record for that in the country. And so we have some connections there, but it's not completely our service area.
Now, I know you're all a talkative bunch. So somebody has to have a question, comment, or maybe back to Dr. G's question, how do you see your service? Well, how do you see your service?
Scott, while you're working, can I ask a question real quickly? I mean, say something quickly. When I started doing reentry work, I thought, okay, I'm a Black male with a doctorate degree. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna bring it back to the community. I'm gonna love my folks. But you know what happened? Those men who came out of prison reminded me of something that I had buried. My father was in prison a lot. It's one of the reasons he wasn't in my life. My folks were married, but my father was in and out of prison. I forgot that I was the son of an incarcerated, just completely forgot about that part of my life. Wasn't raised by him. But some of the things that they said gave me a sense of what my father thought and felt, but could never, ever articulate. Those men healed me of one of my greatest wounds and sore spots in my life, fatherlessness. Those men articulated stuff that my father could never say. And so I want to say to members, if you think you're showing up to save the day, if you think you and your hot little stuff is going to change the world, you're in for a rude awakening. If you are not more changed than what you think you're offering, you're deluded, misguided, and you're not very helpful. This thing, if it works, it gets those who receive it and it gets those who give it.
We got another one from Liam, and this is a very open-ended question. How does this help future generations?
Scott, you know what Liam means specifically? The issues, the subject?
I don't know, but I bet Liam could put some more context in his question too.
What I mean to say is that how does what you're doing help future generation out of community and people?
Sure. Great question, Liam. Liam, I think the best thing that we can do for our communities is to make room for new, younger leaders. What we know for sure is that issues will be here. To the extent that we can prepare people to think uniquely about these issues, thoroughly about these issues, is how we help future generations. And so I've had my shot. I've had 30, 35 years to try innovation. And I was ahead of the curve. I was in my 20s when I started my nonprofit. So I was ahead of the curve. I was creating things. There's never been a Black-led nonprofit that has raised millions of dollars over the years to put back into the community. But services look different now. We didn't think about changing systemic realities. We just, let's bandage people up. Bring me some Band-Aids, bring me some Bactine, give me some gauze. We just bandage. Now we're realizing, you know what, we should have been challenging we should have been challenging structured racism. We should have been calling out system. When I say calling out, I don't mean disrespectfully or disrespectfully if it's what is required. But the point is, new leaders are evolving and they're saying, okay, you guys had part of it, but here's a piece we need to add to it. So I think how this is helping future generations is you're listening to people who you're serving and you're helping to give them the skills to create their own solutions. People don't need or want us to fix them. They're not a project. They're not a capstone. Hear what my needs are and help me develop a strategy. That's what the men in the reentry programs did. They're like, gee, we don't need to be scared. We don't need that. This is what we need, some place to live. We need some jobs. Can you do that? Can you get some equity? Can you buy us some buildings? I did what they told me that men inside the joint said they needed. That's what made us successful. It was not my leadership. It was my ability to listen to wisdom and make room for it. So I think that's how it helps future generations.
We got a couple more coming in. So Heather, how can we learn from those we are serving without making them feel that it is their responsibility to educate us?
Think about, Heather, when you read a book or you watch a movie, you don't say, movie, teach me, book, speak to me. You have the wisdom to extrapolate what's in there. You don't have to have someone teach me. Just come in a listening posture. Just be a learner. You don't have to say, so teach me what it's like to be on wealth. Teach me what it's like to have a dad. And if you listen to people, if you create space for people to be respected, they will teach you a whole lot. So you don't have to worry about making them feel it's their responsibility. Folks want to contribute. And don't pose the question this way. Help me to understand you. I was doing an interview once. Ms. Latrice, you might appreciate that. I was doing an interview and someone said, so what does it feel like being Black in Madison, Wisconsin? I said, it feels like always being asked what it feels like to be Black in Wisconsin. That's what it means to be Black in Wisconsin. That's what it feels like. And so if someone says, teach me about your life so that I can, look at you like through, binoculars or a microscope, like I want to study you, then that could be degrading. But when people know that they can learn from you, not what it means to be poor, look at their resilience. Look at the fact that they may be in poverty, but those kids are clean. Look at the fact that they may be poor, but you walk in that house and you get a whiff of ammonia, Clorox bleach, and Pine Sol, because you're not going to know they're poor because you can eat off the floors. Learn about pride in the midst of being told you're 2/3 of a person. Learn about the resilience of the human spirit. That center that we're building is about the story of resilience. It's not the story of we were stolen and we were brought to America, we became slaves. We still cook like ancestors in West Africa. I've been there. I've noticed we still have these styles, and we still have this swagger and this strength and this faith and this ability to have oratory skills. So don't ask people about their brokenness. Find out about their resolve and their resistance. That's what you need to learn, and watch it and catch things with your eyes. Some things will come up through questions, but you can catch a lot with your eyes. But if you're only looking at what's wrong with people, you'll never see what's right with people. You'll get what you're looking for. But if you go in knowing, I'm going to listen and find out what's helpful to them, that's how you change lives, including yours.
I love that. That so resonates with me. When I started my social work classes, I learned so many things about different cultures that, of course, history, colonized history, you don't learn all that stuff. So my social work classes opened my eyes so much, and I wanted to learn more. So instead of, I hope I'm asking this the right way, but like, especially when George Floyd happened last year,
Yes.
I said, hey, I talked to a couple of my friends. I said, you guys know I'm in social work. I'm going to be a therapist. So I'm going to have patients from different cultures and races and things like that. I would like to know your opinion on what's happening, maybe some of your experiences, if you want to share. And I had a plethora of people come in and let me know their experiences. And what almost made me cry when I was listening to them is that they just said it so matter of fact. Like, it upset me so much. And they're sitting here showing so much strength in their experiences. And, this is what we would like for people to know. Or, I got pulled over, and, I remember a quick story here. Just, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and she has a brother who is biracial, and she got pulled over for a taillight, and they wouldn't tell her why. So they told her afterwards. They detained her and asked the little boy if he was okay because he was lighter skinned than her. And she was detained until they could make sure that this boy was supposed to be in the car with this woman. And I was just, it almost made me cry. But the way she sat there and she's like, I went through it, just her resilience and her strength was just, I can't even put it into words.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for talking about that as well. Cause I always worry about, I don't want to ask something the wrong way, but I want to know. So I just ask people's opinions. And if they feel like sharing any life experiences, I'm all about listening to that. So that absolutely resonates with me.
And Kate, I want to, in as much as I can, I want to give you permission to build strong cross-cultural relationships. I'm not assuming you don't have it, but I'm just saying that because as I scan through this room, there's a lot of beautiful diversity. And that's just on what I see on the outside. There's probably so many other things inside, behind the scenes, because when your world becomes intertwined like that, you have a different baseline. For a lot of therapists, they don't know a single person of color. And so how do they know what a healthy baseline is? So the decisions that they make, and I know because my sister was a social worker for decades, her recommendations were taken by judges and written into court recommendations verbatim. So whatever she said and whatever folks said is what they believe. So I would say for that kind of work, build strong relationships. There are associations for Latinx therapists, Black therapists, other therapists. Do inside AmeriCorps, get to know folks and build a relationship, because we had to be strong to survive in this country. And when people realize that they should be drawn to the strength of our narrative and not the counter narrative that just says we're broken. When folks understand that, they will come after us, not because we're interesting, but because we are critical to their own success. So please build those meaningful relationships, because it will shift your base, your bar for what healthy Black looks like, because you'll find out that that's not a monolith, and the textbooks and the courts and the social service things will tell you that's not good, that's not right, that's suspect. But you'll be able to say, no, that's not true, because I have Black friends, I have Latino friends, I have single mom friends. No, that's fairly common. We're not going to stigmatize that. We're not going to do that. That'll help you in your work.
Oh, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Speaking of textbooks, Jessica's got a doctoral question for you here. From an academic standpoint, where do you think there is still the largest gap in research in this kind of work?
Who asked that?
That
Laura?
was Jessica Smith.
Jessica, thank you for asking that question. Jessica, read my lips. Everywhere. Everywhere. I'm sick and tired of white researchers getting millions and billions of dollars from NIH and other places to study Black twitch muscles and Black breasts and Black testicles and Black brains and Black belly buttons, won't hire Black people to do the studies, and won't even bring the findings back to the Black community. I sit on, my mother has Alzheimer's. I sit on the Black Brain Health Leaders Committee. I'm a founding member of the board. And one of the things that happens is that University of Wisconsin researchers come and ask us, because many of us are Black community folks, they say, we want to come to your churches, your fraternities, I'm an Alpha, we want to come to your place and we want to have access to the Black community because we want to study dementia in the Black community. And I say, hold it. Tell me one Black organization you worked with. Tell me one Black faith, tell me one Black person on your, gone, boom, nope, she's out of here. Nope, you're the weakest link. How are you gonna walk up in here and ask us for access to our people so you can hire an all-white lab or non-Black lab to study us, because we know that the cutting edge in dementia is that Black people are getting it faster. And so I happen to know that the university gets, I asked them, how many hundreds of millions of dollars do you get? They said lots. But yet you won't promote the Black woman in your lab with a PhD? First time I'm asking nicely. Second time I'm coming with the media. Y'all messing with the wrong one. I hope you didn't just sit me here to make you feel good about being wealthy and entitled. But as long as I'm sitting here in this committee, you are not going to come and pimp my community for data and blood and urine and amyloids, and then not even have the decency to bring your findings back. Everyone, all of them, from how students are treated as undergrads to not enticing them to become graduate students to the isolation in the labs. It's systemic, and they're holding down women as well. But I'm saying in these areas, white researchers, white companies are getting rich talking about Black and brown ailments and don't bring any of that money. My grandmother would say from Southeast Missouri, Nan money, none of those resources to our community. It is horrible. And the other thing I'll say is this: when HPV, am I saying this right? The HPV vaccine came out, they didn't have Black women in the trials. So although this is not highly known, they pulled it from the shelf because it was hurting Black women. When people of color are not in the drug trials, we don't know if the drugs work. That drug did not work. If Black people are not in the AstraZeneca trials, if we're not in the Moderna trials, we don't know if those medicines actually work. The medicines that are being developed for dementia, we don't know yet because Black people still don't trust the system. So they're not going to do the stuff. So the historical elimination of a Black, brown presence in these areas has evolved to the fact that we have horrible racial disparities in healthcare, which is building a greater distrust in the medical system, and it's only snowballing. I know you didn't ask all of that, Jessica, but it is jacked up and somebody needs to stop it. Sorry, I got a little heated on that one, Scott.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know what?
This is life.
That's why I like you, man. Okay, Andrew, you said you had a question for our last question. What do you got?
Yeah, I just want to say, Dr. G, you are preaching, and just, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we got you for this. So my question is, obviously the stuff that you're saying for some may be difficult to swallow. And I imagine you've had a lot of folks disagree or bring up ahistorical claims or white fragility or whatever fragility that kind of gets in the way of our society and our communities progressing. So what tips, what has been helpful for you to get folks that are against progress, against seeing change? How have you helped other folks see the light in regards to your work, be it systemic racism, be it criminal justice reform, or what have you?
Great question, Mr. Davis. Thank you for asking. I'll say this. One, I build cross-cultural relationships. And so when people do come for me, you have to look at my friends. You have to look at the people who my daughter calls aunt and uncle, because they don't all look like us. So I can call out systemic racism because I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about a system. I'm talking about a system. My staff is very diverse in so many different ways. And so first of all, I'm a practitioner of cross-cultural relationships. So people think that I'm just coming at a particular group. When I talk about whiteness, I'm talking about a social construct. I'm not talking about people of European descent. And the fact that we're oblivious to that reality and that historical fact is frightening in and of itself. And the reason I talk about my relationships is to show I build bridges, and my goal is to not build division. So folks who just say you're being divisive, I say I'll put my friendship group up against yours any day. And I'm talking about long-standing 10, 20, 30 years of cross-cultural relations, because it's how my mom trained me. I grew up, that my mom, had a buddy who worked with her, and she was white. And so she'd come to Madison to visit us, and, we'd wake up and Billy and Bobby would be in my room and we'd have breakfast. Like, that's how I grew up. My mom trained me that way. So I didn't grow up thinking, ooh, this great division. When I talk about it, I try to bring healing. The world's divided by itself. It doesn't need one person who's bringing it together to try to divide it. But the other thing, I got to be completely honest, Mr. Davis, there are so many people who do get it, but are not mentored and aren't developed and don't know what to do. I spend my time on those who want to get it. I don't have time for the folks who want to argue. People are dying. Black folks are dying. Brown folks are dying. We're leading the nation in all the negative stuff, and we're dragging in all the good stuff. So I don't spend my time, trying to get into this philosophical debate. I can read. I'm a student of history. I'm a researcher. I'm an innovator. I do something about these things. And so people are entitled to their opinions, but they're not entitled to my time. And so I spend time with my non-Black allies who want to journey with me. And I say, listen, I'm not always right. Sometimes I'm a hot-headed Black man. I understand that. But if you're my friend, you'll be able to say, all right, Alex, come on, aren't you being a little sensitive? Okay, yeah, I might be. But if that happened to you 3 times, you might be too, yeah, okay, I might be a little off on this one. But the one I told you about 2 days ago, that you can't refute that. And so my thing is, and I don't mean that disrespectfully at all, but I don't care who you are. You can be an elected official, you can, whatever you are not entitled to my time. I've earned the right to do. I've worked my entire life to be a brother with a microphone, with some books, with some platforms, so I can speak my mind and no one owns me. So they can't tell me to sit down and shut up because they don't have that kind of authority. Because I found my own way of funding the liberation of my voice so that I can liberate people of color and our white allies who want to journey with us. I got 3,000 white folks who've gone through our US Black History course who are learning how to be allies. I don't have time to be working with folks who don't want to talk about it. I got 3,000 people. I'm up day and night trying to figure out how do I keep training these folks who are knocking on my door. I want to know more. I'm a doctor. I'm a psychologist. I'm a surgeon. I'm an ally to these folks, help them to think. I'm mentoring the gentleman who is heading the trials for AstraZeneca. Vaccination, because he's like, I didn't know about Tuskegee. I'm learning all of this kind of stuff, and I need a place to be safe and process this because my colleagues don't know. So they don't understand why we're having these discussions in our community, and I'm having to bring them up to. I need to work with people like that, and not folks who just want to argue and aren't a part of a solution, and no one's even asked them for their opinion. I've been at this for 30 years, and I'm still relevant. And so for folks who just want to argue, say, see me in 30 years to see if people still want to hear what you got to say. Because I've been in it for 30 years and people are still asking me my opinion and to speak at things. And I'm going to speak to those who want to get it and befriend people who want it. They make mistakes all the time who want to get it. But I am not going to get high blood pressure over folks who want to be fragile and don't want to talk about things that are factual. That's not my job. I'm not that saved.
You're getting a lot of claps on the cameras, so. Well, Dr. G, we really appreciate it. You're always a good friend to National Service, and it's awesome. And I have a feeling this conversation can go for a lot longer, but Whitney is waiting in the wings. But if you want to check
Okay.
out more about Dr. G, alexg.org or is it
.com.
.com. I lied. .com. It's in the chat too. But Dr. G, do you have anything you want to say on the closing here? Or?
No, just it's so interesting. Even though my podcast is called Black Like Me, the majority of the listeners are white people who want to feel like they can hear Black dialogue because they're wrestling with issues. And so again, I want to stress there are a lot of allies out there who want to get this. They just need the safe spaces to do it. This season's theme is Black Joy, embracing Black joy. So go check out Black Like Me. Let me know what you think. Scott, I appreciate you for bringing me into this state. I feel very, very honored. I hope I get a Missouri jacket like the Wisconsin sweatshirt I got from AmeriCorps. Because I wear that all the time. I wear the stank out that shirt. And so
it will be in the mail. It will be in the mail today. It will be in the mail today. You just send me your size. I appreciate you, friend. I appreciate you, friend. Thank you so much, Mr. McFarland. Everyone, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna continue on. Next, we have Whitney. Whitney is Economic Development Specialist with the Community Development Block Grant Program here at the Department of Economic Development. And the reason why she's going to be talking to you all today is she worked as a community development volunteer with the Peace Corps in Ukraine from August 2018 to March 2020, when she was evacuated due to the outbreak of COVID-19. During her service, she worked with a successful women's NGO in the Southeast Ukraine, where she helped with the organizational development, as well as promoted sustainable community development and civic engagement in the city through youth clubs, camps, and various projects. So first off, Whitney, thank you for your service. And then second off, she's going to tell you a little bit about what other options are available to you after AmeriCorps is done. So Whitney, I've got your PowerPoint. Do you want me to share it or are you going to share it? Either way works.
If you could share it, that would be good.
I'm on it right now.
Well, thanks so much, Scott, for having me. And I don't know how I'm going to follow up Dr. G, but I'll try at least to tell you about Peace Corps and Peace Corps Ukraine and opportunities for service. So as Scott mentioned, I'm an RPCV from Group 53 in Peace Corps Ukraine, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what that means. If you want to go to the next slide. So just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Columbia, Missouri. So right now I'm in Jeff City, but born and raised in Columbia. I went south for college. So I went to the University of Alabama, where I studied economics and political science, Roll Tide. And then I'm going to be telling you more about my Peace Corps service. And right now, I'm working for the Department of Economic Development as a disaster recovery and mitigation compliance specialist for the Community Development Block Grant Program. And these are two photos of me in Ukraine. And I'm excited to tell you more about that and just encourage you in any way I can about your future service. Next slide. Okay, so I don't know how much any of you know about Ukraine, but you may have heard about this country, which is west of Russia and a former member of the Soviet Union, just from different things that have been in the news recently. So Ukraine has a lot of tragic history. You know, they were in the Soviet Union. There was a huge famine in the 1940s. And then they broke free from the Soviet Union in the early 1990s. But since then, they've had a really hard transition to be a democratic government and a lot of economic problems. So there's systemic corruption. There's emerging decentralization reform, which basically means they used to have this very centralized government, and now they are giving more power to the local authorities. And they also have a Netflix president, or their president, Zelensky is his name. He originally had a Netflix TV show where he was president in a TV show, and then life imitates art, and he became president of the country. So that's a little bit about what has happened recently. In 2014, there was a revolution that basically the Ukrainians wanted to be more Western, more democratic, have their voices heard. It's called the Euromaidan Revolution. And at that time, Russia capitalized on the volatility in Ukraine by annexing Crimea. So they said Crimea is now Russia. And then they also started war in the eastern portion of Ukraine in the Donbass area. However, they like to say that, or I guess the government likes to say that those are Ukrainians rebelling against Ukraine, but it's, you know, I guess depending on who you talk to, it's Russians fighting Ukrainians. And so a lot of Ukrainians have died in that war. And then, of course, you also probably heard about Ukraine due to the impeachment trial and during the 2020 election. So lots of things. Why I wanted to serve in Ukraine was because it is such a relevant area for democracy and development, two areas that really interest me. And there's a lot of opportunities to serve the local community and build sustainable community development through those one-on-one relationships and through the Peace Corps. So if you go to the next slide, a little bit about Peace Corps Ukraine. So Peace Corps Ukraine was founded after Ukraine became an independent country in 1991, but then Ukraine Peace Corps was founded there in 1992. So very quickly after, in a very volatile time. In all time in Ukraine, we've had over 3,000 volunteers serve there. And when I was there was 259 of us serving pre-COVID, which was the largest Peace Corps country in the world. It's a very big program with 3 different mini programs, which were education, youth development, and community and economic development. And as Scott mentioned, I was a community and economic development volunteer. So if you go to the next slide, I can explain more about what that meant. So I guess going back though, Peace Corps' mission, kind of the sister to AmeriCorps, is to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling 3 goals. So the first goal is providing trained men and women to that country of service. And then the second 2 goals are promoting a shared understanding of Americans and of Ukrainians or whatever the country of service is. And the woman in that photo there is my counterpart. So the way that Peace Corps does their service is you're assigned to a particular organization, school, government facility, and then you have one individual in particular who's your counterpart that's Ukrainian or of that local nationality that you serve together with. And so next slide. Just a little bit then about my service. So as was mentioned previously, I was a community development volunteer in Peace Corps Ukraine, and I was assigned to an organization called Uspishna Zhinka, which is Ukrainian for successful woman. So it was a women's organization that promotes anti-human trafficking and domestic violence. That's the majority of their work. And they also promote women's rights and women's equality in Ukraine. And so my goal or my job with Uspishna Zhinka was to help make their organization more sustainable, develop them, and develop the individuals in that organization to make a greater impact on the community. But I didn't just serve with Uspishna Zhinka. They're in the pictures, they're in the top right. But I was also just like an ambassador to Ukraine by the United States. And so I had different things that I would do in my community, such as promoting English clubs, or in the bottom middle there, we had this camp called GLOBE, which is Girls Leading Our World in Teaching Our Boys Excellence. So that was like a leadership camp where we partnered with Ukrainian teenagers to teach lessons about excellence and professional development and leadership and civic engagement, trying to help them be more civically active and serve in their community and give back. Something that's important to know about Peace Corps is that we don't go in trying to necessarily change systems in a country, but we do try to impact the minds, the mentalities, the mindsets of the people that we serve with, to give them that hope that was mentioned previously, that there is ability to change, and that we try to empower those individuals to change. And by changing themselves, they also help change their community, whether it's at a local level or eventually at a national level. And so that top picture is my host family in Ukraine when my parents came to visit. So it was a big, like, cross-cultural interaction, getting my family and my host family together. And then the bottom right picture are me and some other volunteers serving together in Khersonska Oblast, which is what's in the top left picture. Sorry, I'm not going in order at all. But we were the first volunteers to serve in that oblast, which means region, since the annexation of Crimea, and since Peace Corps volunteers were originally evacuated from Ukraine. They were evacuated in 2014 when the revolution happened. And then I got to be part of the first group going back to that region and restoring relationships. In the bottom left picture is me teaching a financial literacy course with my counterpart, Iraida, to a group of Ukrainian teenagers. Next slide. As Scott previously mentioned, I was evacuated from Ukraine due to COVID. So volunteers had been evacuated in 2014 because of the revolution, and then we were evacuated again due to COVID. But I really was able to maintain tight relationships throughout my service. Peace Corps really stresses integration into your community so that you're not just going in, telling them what to do, leaving 2 years later, but really becoming a part of that community. So I became really integrated in my community through Uspishna and through the different work I did with teenagers, and then also through my local church there. And now, as Scott mentioned, I'm planning to go back to Ukraine to continue my service, but this time as a missionary. So Peace Corps totally changed my life and my trajectory for life. And if there's anything that I could leave you guys with to just encourage you, would just be to serve and to serve others, not just for the benefit that it brings you, but because it's the right thing to do. And I think you'll find the most fulfillment out of helping other people. And now I've dedicated my life to service, not just in public service, but now in a different capacity. But any service that you do is definitely worthwhile. So this is just a few pictures of my evacuation. That bottom picture is a group of volunteers, and you can see I'm wearing a birthday hat. I was evacuated on my birthday. And so communities that we serve in, they can become so precious to us. It was really hard for me to leave so suddenly. But I know that by investing in the people there, even though I couldn't necessarily tangibly see the impact, I saw the change in people's hearts that I had served with. And I think that was a successful and a sustainable service because of the investment I made in them, in the people there. So yeah, you can feel free to contact me. If you have any questions, I can share my contact information, or you can chat me while I'm still on the video. And then this last picture, I'll just say, like, Spasiba za vнимание. I learned Russian when I was there. And this is the Peace Corps contingent that got evacuated. I was able to rally everyone to take this group picture. And now I'm really glad I did, even though they were not very happy with me at the airport. But yes, just good luck in your AmeriCorps service, and Peace Corps is waiting for you. If you would like to serve after your AmeriCorps service, we have several openings in Peace Corps Ukraine, and I think we're intending to open back up as a country in mid-2022. So thanks for having me, Scott, and good luck, everyone, with your service. Best wishes.
Thank you, Wendy. That was great. Appreciate it. So now we're going to highlight all of you. We currently have 19, soon to be 22, AmeriCorps programs across Missouri, and many of you sent in videos discussing what your programs do. So before I do that, I'm going to play the video, but I want you all to take a moment, either if they're sitting next to you or in the chat or whatever, thank your program staff, because they work year in and year out to make sure that your program is here so you can serve your communities. And so we never thank those folks enough. And I want you to take a moment to thank those who are leading the charge during your term of service. And then once the next group of AmeriCorps members and the next 20 groups of AmeriCorps members come in, they are definitely continuing to keep things going. So thank you to the program staff who are doing amazing work to get this done. So now let's hear about our AmeriCorps programs.
Hi everyone, this is Jane with the AmeriCorps St. Louis Emergency Response Team. Based in St. Louis, Missouri, our program focuses on training and developing the next generation of leaders while building capacity for partner agencies. The mission of AmeriCorps St. Louis is to enhance the professional skills and lifelong service ethic of those who serve, to respond to critical unmet needs in the areas of emergency response and environmental conservation, to leverage service of volunteers, and to build the capacity of partnering agencies and the communities we serve. Throughout their 11-month term of service, our members take part in projects related to environmental stewardship, disaster response, and wildland firefighting. And while our program is based in St. Louis, our members serve in state parks, conservation areas, and forests across the state of Missouri and southern Illinois, and can be deployed to disaster zones nationwide. Our motto, see the need, meet the need, truly comes alive through our service, whether it's in a Missouri state park, a hurricane-stricken town, a raging wildfire, or a devastating global pandemic. We are very excited to be entering our 28th year of operation, and we can't wait to meet many other amazing Missouri AmeriCorps members along the way.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Grimes, and I serve as a second-year AmeriCorps member and team leader for City Year Kansas City. City Year is a national education equity-based nonprofit, and here in KC, we serve with the Kansas City Public Schools District and a charter school called KIPP Endeavor Academy. Here, we serve as mentors and tutors to students focusing on attendance, behavior, and course performance goals. This is in order to keep our students not only on track to graduate, but also to succeed after high school.
My name is Kate. I'm an AmeriCorps member serving with College Bound, which is a nonprofit focused on education access here in St. Louis. I support local community college students who are first generation as they navigate their various degree pathways.
Hi, my name is Katie Niedermeyer, and I'm AmeriCorps this year working with Healing Action. Healing Action is an agency that supports survivors of human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation. This year, I am working with the service team to provide services to our members and support them throughout all of their needs and their daily life.
Jumpstart is reading to kids.
Jumpstart is expanding children's knowledge.
Jumpstart is teaching kids social and emotional skills.
Jumpstart helps children learn about the world around them.
Jumpstart is expanding children's vocabulary.
Jumpstart is singing songs.
Jumpstart is having fun with our Jumpstart friends. Hi, I'm Casey with Kansas City Teacher Residency. I'm a staff member here. I work with our AmeriCorps members, and our AmeriCorps members spend their primary time of service is in classrooms with students, working under a mentor teacher on their journey to become a highly effective teacher. Also included in their hours of service is coursework, studying for our MOCA test, which is a certification test, and some coaching with Kansas City Teacher Residency coaches. So at the end of this year of service, we have not only deeply invested in our community through our time in the classroom with students, but we have also a sustaining practice of developing highly effective teachers that go on with a really high retention rate.
Hello everyone, we are the Laclede Literacy Council Volunteers of America. We can help people to earn their HiSET, help with basic literacy, English as a second language, resumes, and job applications. We help with Meals on Wheels, food harvest, and bingo at the Hughes Senior Center. We are here to serve. Please call us at 532-6697 or come by and see us at 539 East Elm Street, Suite A. Looking forward to seeing you.
Hello all, my name is Jay Cartwright Mechie, also known as Everest Oak, they them theirs, and I serve where I was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a K-3 literacy tutor with my program, the Literacy Lab. Now, most anyone who has ever had a conversation with me knows I hope to one day have a long career at the intersections of education policy and mental health care reform. My big dream is to help reinvent the approach our nation takes towards caring for our students' mental and emotional well-being. To accomplish this, I will need experience in the classroom, in policy, and psychology, all encompassed by a whole lot of college education. But a doctorate is an expensive goal, especially when I cannot currently afford my undergrad. It was in working towards this goal, however, that I realized serving with AmeriCorps and the Literacy Lab would be the ideal launching point. Of course, the Education Award is nice, but I believe it is no mere coincidence that my mission aligns so perfectly with the mission of the Literacy Lab. We serve students from age 3 to grade 3, providing research-based early literacy intervention to children from low-income families. We partner with a wide range of schools to offer a spectrum of students easier access to literacy, which we believe is an essential human right. As well, we seek to inspire greater success in students' educational careers, which will later afford them increased opportunities in life. All of this work is done through the lens of social justice and labors directly against our country's school-to-prison pipeline. The Literacy Lab hopes to reimagine the way we approach education. We employ a diverse staff of highly trained tutors that are fortunate enough to afford a year of service on the modest living allowance we are provided. Although that allowance ultimately bars many from the opportunity to serve, the team members we have assembled all share a common goal: to make a positive difference in the life of each student we encounter. It is for these reasons that I am so deeply proud of the work I do. Meaningful change is born from the same building blocks that compose the Literacy Lab's foundation. The same can be said for all AmeriCorps programs. I hope you will join me in saying, it is an honor to do my part. Thank you.
I advise because I believe education is the best route to achieve true equity.
I advise because I never had someone like me in high school to help me with the college going process, and I've realized how important having that help is.
I advise because students deserve someone who's willing to answer all of their questions.
I advise because I believe all students deserve support while exploring their post-secondary goals.
I advise because my students deserve to have an opportunity.
I advise to inspire and advocate for first generation or minority students so that they know that college is attainable for them.
I advise because I believe in first generation students.
I advise because I love challenging a student's thoughts on where they thought that they could be and challenge the realities that they face so they can create new ones.
I advise to empower Missouri students to go to college and succeed.
Hi, my name is Nova Walton Marriott, and I'm an AmeriCorps member success coach at Beyond School, Kip Triumph Academy. I work with students grades 5 through 8, and this is my first year of service. Mission St. Louis Beyond School is an extended learning opportunity that bridges in-school needs with after-school support. We focus on individualized academic support, social emotional learning, community service, and enrichment experiences. Welcome to Beyond School.
PAVE AmeriCorps serves in Eldon R1 schools. We are academic coaches that serve in K-12 classrooms. We provide interventions to students who struggle with math or reading. Some of us, including myself, provide SEL support for improved academic engagement.
We are AmeriCorps, Poplar Bluff's promise. We serve approximately 700 students each year, kindergarten through 8th grade, who are at risk for academic failure. We provide tutoring during and after school, as well as fun camp days on days out of school. Our program includes 43 part-time members and 2 program staff. Most of our members are lifelong residents of our community and inspire to become teachers. Many of the teachers we work with are actually former AmeriCorps members. Our program also engages our members in nearly 50 different service projects each year to support the families that we serve. My favorite is Project Christmas Promise. We receive information from families that need support with providing their children with a small Christmas. We connect these needs anonymously with local donors who purchase needed items. Throughout the month of December, we collect these items, shop for items that are not donated, wrap and tag gifts. We organize all the family's gift items and arrange for pickup or delivery for families just in time for Christmas. It is truly the most wonderful time of the year in Poplar Bluff. Our core values are respect, equity, appreciation, collaboration, commitment, and accountability. Through our service, we are committed to developing these values not only in our students, but in mutual relationships among all of those who are serving. Through our community, we are committed to developing these values not only in our students, but in mutual relationships among all of those who are serving. The kids and adults need us to support their goals, efforts, and work. We provide encouragement, accountability, development, and a committed presence to build strong relationships. Through our determination to remain flexible in how we serve, when we serve, and what we are able to deliver that meets needs. We impact our community one person at a time. We do this by realizing we all have to value and are mutually dependent on how we are different, and we can all contribute to not only amazing things in our local communities, but also the greater world at large.
I'm Wesley Bryant, and I'm a 9th grade physics teacher here at KIPP KC Legacy High School. I am also a member of the 2021 Teach for America cohort, which makes me a 2021 AmeriCorps member. Some of the really special things that TFA does is they take qualified individuals like me and put us all in a collective cohort so that we can become effective educators. They place us individuals, turn us into great educators, and place us into high schools with high need. I feel like TFA does a great job in placing educators because I personally believe that they placed me at the perfect home school.
Hey there, my name is Audrey Paul, and I'm a Teach for America 2021 Corps member. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys about what Teach for America is all about and what my experience as a Corps member has been like. As many of you might know, Teach for America is an organization that, like myself, believes that our country's education system is rooted in systemic issues. Basically, a kid's area code that they're born in has more of an impact on what their outcomes in life are going to be than anything else. And Teach for America sees that as a problem. For me, what this looks like is I moved to Kansas City. I am all the way from Georgia. I'm quite a bit far away from home, but I am teaching 3rd grade at a local elementary school, and it is the craziest but most challenging, but the most fun that I've ever had. Teach for America is a 2-year commitment, so I will be at my school for this year and then another calendar year before I will have the opportunity to see if I want to pursue a career in teaching or if I want to take my leadership and the skills that I have learned elsewhere.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Gomez. I am a 2021 TFA Corps member, and I'm teaching 8th grade science in the Kansas City, Missouri region. My experiences with Teach for America modeled the experiences seen by many Teach for America Corps members, both this year and in their existence. What Teach for America loves to do is connect aspiring leaders to help combat the systems of systemic oppression, systemic inequity, systemic racism, and obstacles that get in the way of every single child receiving a high quality education.
Hi, my name is Christy Wilson. I am a 4th year AmeriCorps member serving in the Waynesville R6 School District. I serve in the capacity of a reading tutor and after-school program group leader. My role as a reading tutor is to provide individualized small group reading tutoring to those students who faces challenges with phonemic awareness, reading comprehension, and fluency. My role as an after-school program group leader with the after-school program known as Club Tiger is to provide homework tutoring assistance, to lead fun activity sessions such as arts and crafts and scientific experiments. In addition, I also supervise students to ensure their safety throughout the program.
The Purdy AmeriCorps reading coaches provide literacy.
Oh, come on,
choose
Just off Highway C, there's a place called Purdy Mo, where reading coaches go to make a difference for all. Purdy is a nest. It's home to eagles who are just the best. We'll be helping them read, practice spelling, and pass all their tests. Down in Purdy,
phonemic awareness, reading with expression, the clues found in context, letter names and their sounds, the digraphs, the diphthongs, learning to be fluent down in Purdy Mo. Let's get there fast and watch our readers grow. Help eagles learn and know, way down in Purdy Mo.
Helping eagles read is just the start of our duties. We'll also get some things done for folks in our community. Stocking pantry shelves and being Santa's little elves. Our reading coaches reach out, helping eagles that can help themselves. Way down in Purdy.
Sand backpacks, recycling, buy one, get one book fairs, Thanksgiving, canned food drives, Christmas blessing baskets, for pigeons for winter. Oh, we'll make a difference down in Purdy Mo. Let's get there fast, our blessings to bestow. That's where our love will show. Way down in Purdy Mo.
Oh yeah! Got it! Nailed that one!
Well, thanks to all the programs for turning their stuff in. And I want to point out, I've worked with a couple superintendents over the years. None of them have worn a unicorn before. So that's pretty impressive too. Next, we have, we're honored to have the director of AmeriCorps State and National, Sonali Najwan. Sonali is the national director And Sonali has committed her career to developing leaders and growing national service. Most recently, she developed and served as the executive director of Stockton Service Corps, a 6-year, $12 million initiative to address local needs through AmeriCorps. Her professional background also includes extensive experience in education, beginning as an AmeriCorps member with City Year Chicago. Inspired by students, families, and AmeriCorps community she met, she then went on to help found City Year Sacramento and launched the organization's 22nd site with 50 new AmeriCorps members. Sonali also served as the California Director of Education Pioneers, where she recruited, placed, and supported managers in urban school systems and educational nonprofits, empowering people to challenge the status quo of our public education system. She holds a bachelor's in education and psychology from Marquette University and a master's in social work from the University of Maryland, Baltimore. And earlier this year, President Biden selected her to be the leader of our AmeriCorps group across the country. So Sonali is going to have a few words and then also help us rededicate ourselves with the AmeriCorps pledge. Sonali, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Scott, for your kind introduction. And thank you to you and your team at the Missouri Community Service Commission for leading the work of national service and volunteerism across your state. The work that we do would not be possible without the partnership we have with all of you. To all the AmeriCorps members, happy opening day to all of you. It is wonderful to be joining you and the entire Missouri AmeriCorps community today to celebrate your opening day. Thank you for being here and thank you for your commitment to national service. As Scott shared, my name is Sonali Nijawan. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I proudly serve as the Director of AmeriCorps State and National. It is especially meaningful for me to be joining you all today, not just as the Director of AmeriCorps, but also as a proud AmeriCorps alum. Today, you are joining AmeriCorps this year, you are joining AmeriCorps at a tipping point for national service. Earlier this year, the American Rescue Plan, a historic piece of legislation, invested an unprecedented amount of $1 billion to AmeriCorps. This investment brings moments of great joy and opportunity to the work that we do. And in reflecting on where we are today, I'm reminded of the potential these funds carry and what they can mean to all of you, the thousands of AmeriCorps members serving across the state of Missouri and the tens of thousands serving across this country. This funding will allow AmeriCorps to become more accessible and inclusive. It will help us increase the diversity, cultural experience, and number of individuals serving communities across the country. And while the work ahead is exciting, I do think it's important that we take a moment today to celebrate all of you, to celebrate you for your commitment to service and the incredible impact you will have during an unprecedented moment in our nation's history. As I shared not too long ago, I sat in the same seat as many of you. I was at the start of my year of service. I was eager to get things done, and I was equally uncertain on how I would make a difference in the lives of the young people I was to serve. And while I know that each of us come with our own experiences and that we'll be embarking on our own unique journey, I do want to take a minute to just share a little piece of advice that guided me during my year of service and continues to serve me in my current role. And that advice is to take a moment to reflect, to take a moment to celebrate your accomplishments, to share your story with the people around you, to share the story of the communities you serve with your friends and family, and to continue to find opportunities to celebrate your success and the successes of the people and communities you serve. Know that wherever you serve, you exemplify America at its best. And while your service will be tough at times, my hope is that you will gain valuable new skills and experiences to help you in your future endeavors. When you take the AmeriCorps pledge today in just a couple minutes, you will join our network of more than 1.2 million Americans who have taken the same oath to get things done over the past 25 years. And as we make our way out of the pandemic, all of you will be leading the way, rebuilding our communities and reclaiming our stake in each other. And today, we need that spirit more than ever. Looking around the virtual room and hearing the incredible stories of service that were just shared, I really love that video. I know that we can accomplish these things. I know that you all can accomplish it. So now it is with great pleasure that I administer the AmeriCorps Pledge with all of you. So I will ask all of you to please turn on your camera and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'll give us a minute. I know that the virtual pledge can be an interesting experience, so I'll just give us a minute to get on camera.
Do you want to share with me?
All right, we'll get started.
Okay. Where's Corinne and then?
I will get things done for America.
I
will get things done
for America.
To make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
To make
healthier.
I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities.
I will
bring
together
strengthen our community.
Faced with apathy, I will take action.
Faced
with apathy,
I will take
action.
Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground.
Faced
with conflict,
I will
seek common ground.
Faced with adversity, I will persevere.
Faced
with adversity, I will persevere.
I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond.
I will
carry this commitment with me and beyond.
I am an AmeriCorps member and I will get things done.
I am an American
member. I will get things done.
Congratulations, you all are now officially AmeriCorps members. Welcome to the club. It is wonderful to be in community with all of you. Thank you again for answering the call to serve. In the midst of the challenges facing our country, you stepped forward to become part of the solution. You demonstrate the power of working together to get things done. And I look forward to hearing about the great things you will do throughout your year of service. Thank you again to Scott and his team for the opportunity to join you all today, and best wishes to all of you, the Missouri AmeriCorps members, for your future success.
Thank you, Sonali. And as you know, you'll definitely hear from me on the impacts from Missouri, one way or the other. So folks, I know we're at noon. Give me about 4 or 5 minutes here and we'll be wrapping up. First and foremost, I want to take a moment to thank my commissioners who are on the call here, including John and everybody else who's joined in. I see Skip and Jennifer and a few others in there too, so thank you. Our commissioners are our lifeblood of our commission and continue to push us in the right direction of what we're going to be doing moving on as we grow this program. And also want to take a moment to thank our staff. The commission staff work tirelessly day in and day out to ensure that you can serve your communities. So I want to thank the staff for everything that they have done for this. In closing, I want to take a moment and really just thank you for the service that you're going to do in this year that you just rededicated yourself for, but also for the service that you've already done and the service you'll do long after this year of service is over. But also, as Sonali mentioned, some of this time is going to be hard. You're going to have some days where you're going to be doing the math in the back of your head about how much that living allowance actually is per hour. And at that point, you're going to start questioning some life choices. But those are going to be the days where it's going to be very important that you continue to do the amazing things that you're doing, because that could be the day that the student walks in after staying up all night because the sirens were going off down the street, and they come in, they're already well behind everybody else, and they're not entirely sure why they're there to begin with. But then they see your smile and the A on your shoulder, and they realize that somebody else has got their back. It's this day that the mom is going to come in, who is working 3 jobs that don't pay enough, and is trying desperately to find the food to put on their kids' table that night. And then they see your smile and the A on your shoulder and recognize that somebody else cares about getting food on that table too. And it's the refugee who literally gave up everything to come over here. And they're realizing it's even harder than they thought it could be. And they're unfortunately realizing that not everyone over here is as welcoming as they should be. But then they see you with a smile on your face and the A on your shoulder, and they realize that American dream isn't just a dream. You see, on the hardest days you're going to have, it's harder for somebody else. And you're going to be the one who potentially has the chance to turn things around for them. And you may never hear from them again. They probably won't be able to tell you thank you. But when that student graduates college, when the mom sits at her table and doesn't have to worry about where the food's coming from, and when the refugee buys their first home, they're going to look back and remember that smiling face and that A. And you will have done something amazing for not only them, but as Dr. G said, you're continuing to move this systematic change that we're all asking for. But also on those hard days, I want you to recognize that we do have another program available to you. That's the AmeriCorps Member Assistance Program. This is 100% free, and we want you to use it. The 800 number that is there. You also will get the information from your programs if you haven't already. It is a 24/7 call service. There's also a phone app. It's available in 140 languages. You can talk to a trained, licensed counselor about anything. If you're having a bad day because of AmeriCorps, or if you're just having a personal issue, you can talk to somebody. You can get video counseling and coaching. There's financial and legal assistance available, life coaching, resources and referrals. There's a lot available to you because we need you. And so we need you to be healthy, both physically and mentally. So please, when you are having those days, reach out to your program staff, to your fellow members, reach out to me and my team, call this number, do whatever you need to do, because we need you to continue to serve. Because now more than ever, we need you. So with that, the last thing I have to say to everybody is go get some things done. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. We love you all. You're a part of our family, and we're here to back you up. Have a good day.
Way to go, Scott and team.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you all.
The AmeriCorps pledge. I will get things done for America.
To make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
I will bring Americans together
to strengthen our community.
Faced with apathy, I will take action.
Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground.
Cuando encuentro adversidad, yo hago algo.
I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond.
I am an AmeriCorps member.
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 Miembro de AmeriCorps.
I am an AmeriCorps member.
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 I will get things done.